Omakase, the life and words of author M. Karen. If this is our first time meeting each other, let me give you a brief introduction. My name is Max. I write books for a living. Thanksgiving was last week, but I want to say that I am thankful that you're still here. My pronouns are they, them, and Thanksgiving last week, I actually ended up spending it over at my parents' place, and I did that thing that you gotta do. I don't know if you do it, but I do it every time I go over there. I go and I go through my old stuff, what little remains over there, and I'm like, ooh, I forgot I had this. Ooh, I forgot this existed. So, me and my lovely spouse have spent a little while just going through all the old stuff. Finding old things like magazines I brought from Mexico, magazines that I just really, really loved back when I was really little. Back in Mexico, I was addicted to buying video game magazines, and just because back in my day, that was the only way you could learn about the video games. See, back then, there was no internet. I know. I can't believe it either. Hi there! Silly shenanigans out of the way. Welcome to the 24th episode of Omakase, my writing advice and inspiration podcast. In case you're wondering, another really cool thing that we found while going through stuff, through my old stuff in my parents' place, I still have my Pokemon Generation 1 Pokedex, like an actual physical Pokedex. The batteries are dead, but I'm sure that if I replace those, it will work. But because I got that from Mexico, it's actually all in Spanish, which is pretty funny. But anyhow, so let us out of the way. Hi there, I'm Max. This is a writing advice podcast whenever I'm not talking about silly stuffs, like Pokemon and what I did during Thanksgiving. What did you do during Thanksgiving? Did you have fun? Probably not. Thanksgiving is not the happiest of holidays, but I hope at least you ate some good food. If you aren't familiar with the format for this show, here's how it goes. The first third is all about my week, what I've been doing, what I've been up to, my own creative process, and the things that I've been experiencing. The second segment of the show is viewer questions. Today I'm going to be going over 2 viewer questions, one on copyright and the fear of someone stealing your work, and of course a question on inspiring yourself, or as I like to call it, filling the cup. And the last segment of the show, last but by no means least, is the prompt. I have a special prompt today. I always try to get something that is pertinent, that is very relevant to what I'm doing right now. So we'll be tackling a writing prompt titled A Spectator. Before we get started with the show improper though, a couple items of housekeeping. In the description of this video, you can find the song at the opening and at the end of the show, of course titled Dream of Green by the OCRemix collective. In the description, a link to that song, link to where you can support me with a cup of coffee or by supporting me through Patreon, and a link to this podcast's email. Yeah, I decided to finally set up an email if you want to send questions, especially for an upcoming event that I'm hosting. You can do so over at omakasepodcast@gmail.com. Alright, enough with any of that. Let's move over to the first segment of the show, my week. What have I been doing? Last episode I recorded before Thanksgiving, so now the timeline has caught up. As I mentioned, I actually had a relatively nice time. I hadn't seen my old folks in a little while. We played board games, we ate food, we cooked together. Not in that order, but it was fun. And it was also fun just, showing old pictures to my lovely spouse. Just pictures she hadn't seen of me back when I was a baby. Other than that, it's been nice. My week has been a little bit of a mess, though. I don't really have anything to report regarding consuming media, experiencing stuff. I've been kind of, I don't want to say in limbo, but it'll make more sense once I talk about the next point in my update. I've been focusing on work, and to be entirely honest, I've had time to rest, but I've been kind of bumbling all over the place, fixing stuffs, taking care of stuffs, preparing for December, and of course, finishing stuffs from November. It's been kind of a juggling act. Thankfully, it appears that's all taken care of. One could say that the sky has cleared up. The storms of the past have passed. And now all that remains is the clear sky, the sunrise, and a new dawn has come. That metaphor is doubly effective considering that we've had a lot of rain recently over here in my little nook of California. We had a lot of rain for the last couple of days, and I love rain because rain is the perfect writing weather. It is the perfect weather for just being at home, at your desk, at your little office, in your writing nook, and getting some writing done. It's just to me, it's the perfect environment. You have the built-in white noise generator that is rain, so you can just immerse yourself in the moment. I also just love the smell of rain. It's just something that has always inspired me in a way. I don't know. The upside of rain, writing mood. Downside of rain, a little hard to go for a walk. As I've mentioned, going out on walks is part of my creative process. It's part of what inspires me. So I've been actually at a strange mind space because I've been editing for like the last 2.5 months. I've been editing for a long time, and I could feel myself starting to burn out. I basically finished the passes on all the things that I was working on, and I was feeling very uninspired, and I was feeling very unmotivated. And of course, me being short-sighted like I am, and stubborn like I am, I figured, it's gotta be something with me. My lovely spouse, of course, caught me before I kept on being a dummy, and told me, Max, what you need to do is do something else. You should go write something. And of course, me being stubborn, I was like, no, I gotta keep editing. I have all these books. I better edit them so that I can move them up along the process and I can release them sooner. And then she narrowed her eyes at me. And then that's how I knew. That's the only warning you get. Here, see, here's Married Life 101, okay? If you say something bad and she narrows her eyes at you, that's how you know. It's time for you to check yourself. Check in with yourself. And I realized, okay, you know what? I am being irrational. I am being a little irrational. I'm being a little stubborn. I realized, yes, I've edited. I've done like 3 passes. I finished editing a novel. And I did 3 passes across 3 different first drafts. I think I may be a little done with editing for now. So, as per the request of my lovely spouse, I have decided to write something. I don't know if it will be small. I want it to be small because it's been a year since I released Masks of Glass. But I don't know if it will be small. I just don't know. I've been letting the stories just kind of be themselves, So, I don't know how long the story's going to be. It probably will be long. I feel this part in me that wants to write a long story again, but we'll see. I'm going to be writing. I'm literally ready to go. Tomorrow is going to be my first writing day. I wanted to get this podcast done first, though. I'm going to get this podcast done, and tomorrow it's going to be a writing day. A brand new day. That's what I've been working on this last few days. Preparing that novel, brainstorming, doing research, making sure that I'm in the right mind space for it. Gathering music, defining characters. I really just need to go on one really, really long walk to finalize the character images in my head. But other than that, a new adventure begins tomorrow, and I'll let you know all about it when we get there. That's about it for my week, really. I haven't done anything more exciting in regarding to, consuming media, watching shows, playing games. I really haven't. Let's take a moment to pause and talk about the people who make this podcast a reality. This show is directly funded by its listeners. People who treat me to cups of coffee through coffee.com/mkaren and who support me month to month on patreon.com/mkaren. I want to take a second. At the end of the show, I give everybody a shout out. Even if you bought me a cup of coffee, I give you a shout out at the end of the show. But right here in the middle, I want to just kind of showcase some of my most generous patrons. I want to give a big thank you to Atlak. Atlak has a DeviantArt page. You can find out more about their writing and their art over at deviantart.com/AHTILAK. Also, Hero Song. Hero Song is writing LGBT plus positive novels. You can find them over at smashwords.com. Just do a quick search for Hero Song. And of course, A. Howard, Elisa Dudley, Amelia, Angela, Brenda, Lishadra, Gilbert Gaudreau, Irina Phoenix, Lacey, Mark Maruska, Nicola, Pat Eichson, Polly Craftwell, Soul Muse, and Synexia. Thank you so much for your support, guys. We're about to enter the questions segment of the show, but just I want to give you a quick reminder that for the end of this year, I am going to be doing a big writing advice answer-a-thon. I'm going to answer all of the writing advice questions that I get in the order that I get them, so first come, first answered. And I'm also going to be doing an Ask Me Anything. Like, I'm going to have writing advice answer-a-thon and just a AMA for just answering personal questions. Just a couple of really nice laid-back podcasts for the end of the year, because the end of the year is always a mess for me, so I would love to record a couple episodes in advance. If you want to send me just a big, long list of questions, guess what? I now have an email for the podcast, omakasepodcast@gmail.com. It's also in the description of this podcast. You can go leave all of your questions there, and I will get to them when I record those year-end episodes. Question number 1. Pregunta número 1. I always like to do a technical question and an inspirational question. This is the technical one. Although, someone in the background is like, but Max, isn't it kind of like a real life advice question? It's fine. I had a dear viewer reach out to me asking a familiar question. If you've been following me, my podcast, my YouTube channel, my Tumblr blog for the last, several years, man, it's been a long journey. You've heard my thoughts on this, but it doesn't hurt to revise them. A dear viewer wanted advice as to how they can protect their writing from being stolen. They talked about, copywriting their writing and generally how to protect themselves from someone just taking all their hard work and just selling it. Now, this here is a very complex topic, and I'm going to just kind of get in and get out really quickly, because I know that I can ramble about this for just years on end. Just by you writing something, you possess the copyright to what you wrote. Yes, it is recommended to send your writing to the copyright offices of your particular country, yes, but just to be clear, you possess the copyright of what you create. I want to dispel the idea that, like, if you don't send your writing to the copyright offices and someone takes it and posts it online or claims it to be their own, you have no defense. That's not how it works. Like, that's just not how reality works. And I understand the fear of someone taking all of your hard work and claiming it for themselves and making money off of it. And I completely get that. And I think that if you look at how, I almost want to call it a gray market, a gray market for stealing illustrations and art. Basically all of those like really, really shady Instagram accounts that are just posting someone else's art as their own. And you can look at that and go, what's stopping anyone from just doing that to my writing? And I feel that a lot of this is, of course, fear. Nobody wants to, lose all their hard work. I want to dispel this in a couple of ways. I'll start with the big one first. A way to overcome fear is to rationalize where it comes from and the actual possible outcomes of this fear. I believe there was a really good TED Talk. Oh my god, by that Canadian astronaut, I forget his name. But the TED Talk was what I learned from going blind in space, I believe. He talks about rationalizing fears. It's a really good, amazing talk, and I recommend that you go check it out for yourselves. But just a really quick comment that he made in it, as part of rationalizing your fears. And of course, you kind of have to do that if you're going to be an astronaut and be out there in space, thousands of miles away from, another human being. And he talked about rationalizing the idea of being afraid of spiders. Being afraid of spiders, when in reality, the spiders that can actually hurt you or that are actually worth you being afraid of don't live anywhere near you and are very easy to spot and are actually so out of the way that you will never actually encounter them. So with that kind of sentiment in mind, the idea of rationalizing one's fears. If you're afraid that someone's going to take your book, put it on Amazon, make bank, and by the time you catch them, they're gone, that's not actually how reality happens. Are we being joined by copyright consultant Yanto? Oh my god, we are. Oh, hello, come in, good sir. Yanto, I didn't know you were a copyright consultant. You're not only a great cat, you're also a great consultant. Alright, that joke was not very funny. So let me put my headphones back on as I finish this particular sentiment. If you think that someone is going to put up your book on Amazon and then they'll make bank and then they'll, get in, get out. Like a heist. Like the cast of Ocean's 11 just got their hands in your book. The thing you gotta realize is that people have thought about this before. And people have tried. And because of things like these, the system has itself adapted or changed its rules. Anyone who, sells stuff on Amazon, especially on Kindle, which is, the biggest marketplace for ebooks, will tell you that you don't get paid right away. And it's one, for the management of royalties and also the management of all these different currencies that are being used to buy your books. On Amazon, you don't get paid right away. You get paid in a Yanto, oh my god. Yanto, get out of there. You're supposed to be the copyright consultant. What are you doing next to all the cables? Sorry about that. My copyright consultant, Yanto, decided to go sit next to the cables that connect, my entire setup. And there's a little switch. That if he puts his butt right against it, the whole thing shuts down. I'm really I'm dancing around the point. Amazon pays you 3 months after whenever your royalties came in. So it's staggered. It's a staggered release. And part of that, as I mentioned, is because of all the currencies that are involved. And also, just in the scenario that someone has their hands on something that isn't theirs. Most other online places hold your royalties for a month before you actually get them. So you could say that it takes 2 months for you to actually get a first real paycheck. So the idea that someone out there is just going to take your work and release it and make bank on it and then, vanish into the shadows before anyone sees it, that's just not going to happen. The fear of someone taking your hard work is not, it's not irrational. I feel that, especially because that stuff really does happen in other mediums, but writing is different. And even if you're afraid that someone's going to take your book and then go sell it to an agent and then get it published, I want you to realize that that takes a really, really long time. This is not just going to happen overnight. And also, the whole process of, talking to an agent and selling that book, that takes so long. I knew someone who went through that and it took 8 years. That's how, I don't want to say bad because that's a judgment call, but that's how bizarre traditional publishing is. It takes a long time. You have to convince an agent to sell that book for you, and then that agent has to sell it to a publishing house. And this can take a long time. And more importantly, how is someone getting a hold of your writing? If you're posting it online week to week, that's not inherently a bad thing. As a matter of fact, if you're posting it week to week somewhere and that's your profile, people know who you are and you're getting readers, I don't think anyone can just grab all your writing, put it online, and then get away with it. Or if anything, get away with it for long enough for someone to, notice, let you know. But again, I feel like this is, in a way, still part of the realm of fantasy. This idea that someone out there is going to take advantage of you or take advantage of what you have made. And even then, one of the things you gotta realize, and I feel like this is one of like the realest things I can tell you, books don't just sell by themselves. If someone puts a book out there with no fanfare, no marketing, nothing to back it up, I don't think it'll get many sales. Because that's just not how it works. Word of mouth is the most powerful force in the entire universe. So when people are talking about what you're making, or know who you are, that itself makes the book more likely to sell. The idea that someone can just take your book and make bank on it, it's silly, because they would have to do the hard work. They would have to, if your book's not finished, finish the book. They would have to market the book. They would have to release the book. And that right there is too much work for the kind of person who would try to make quick money off of taking advantage of someone. And more importantly, you hold control over your writing. If you're concerned about this, don't post your writing online. Be mindful of who you're sharing it with. I know it's a big fear. And I know where you're coming from. Once upon a time I was there. But it's all about rationalizing our fears. If you don't share your writing online, if you're mindful of who has it, you'll be fine. Also, one thing I wanted to mention that I completely forgot about. Copywriting your writing is not retroactive. What I mean is that you only own the copyright, or the copyright offices only keeps track of the version that you sent to them. So if you sent a first draft to the copyright offices, and then you revise it later, you have to update that copyright. Like, that's just kind of part of the process. More stuff that people don't realize. You don't just send your book once and then you're like, that's it, it's protected forever. In spite of the fact that everything you make is protected by copyright because you made it. And someone out there is yelling at me, and I know someone wants me to go on forever about this. And it's not that I would mind it, but we would be here forever. I'll just say this really quickly. You cannot copyright ideas. You can't copyright ideas. If you're afraid that someone will steal the idea for your novel, look within yourself and ask yourself if the idea for a story is the biggest deciding factor, because it's not. It's always the execution. There's been great novels executed amazingly on an otherwise simple story idea, and amazing, intricate story ideas that were executed so badly, as though to take away the credit of that incredible idea that spurred them. You cannot copyright story ideas. I can do a whole video on that. I think I've done in the past, but we gotta move on, okay? I just want to leave you with the thought that if you hear those horror stories of someone who's like, oh, I was putting my art on Instagram and then someone just took it and just made t-shirts out of it, I just want to remind you that it's a different commitment. It's a different, like, all I'm saying is that, oh, I'm back. I thought I finished this point. To me, it seems unreal and unbelievable that someone would go through all that trouble when at the end of it all, it's ultimately for a quick buck. And I'm like, if someone's willing to go through those lengths, there's probably much other ways in which they can make a bigger buck. If their market is to steal things from people. It's just not smart. And ultimately, it doesn't matter because the book is you. It's your way of writing stories. It's not just the story. It is you. In a way, we sell our words. And people buy them. You make a book. You make another book. And you keep writing. And also, don't worry about people stealing your work. Okay? Okay. I know. That was a bad ending. I know. I'm not really happy with how that answer came out. But that's part of life. Maybe Max from the future who's editing this can make me sound better. Spoilers. Probably not. Anyhow, let's move over to the second question of the day. We're arriving at the last lap of the year. November's wrapping up. By the time this episode goes up, December's here? No, December's about to arrive. December is about to arrive, the last lap of the year. And it is at this point in which we arrive at the weight of the world on our shoulders. The feeling of a year's worth of events, of good memories, of bad memories. Did we make the most of our time? And what do we do moving forward? It's very easy to arrive at this moment, this feeling, and think to yourselves, how do I keep going? How do I keep creating? How can I inspire myself? There was a post going around on Twitter, which I really, really liked, and there were several tweets going around that as well, which I feel that a lot of us are on the same mental space at the moment. You know, when you're going to school, when you work at a job, it's very easy to be inspired because you find motivation in the little glimpses of personal time you have. And when you finally have a break, like you're out of school, or you graduate, or you actually decide to do this full time, it becomes a lot harder to find the inspiration because you have to learn to inspire yourself. Now, that is an incredibly daunting task, and right now, if you right now at this very moment you have like a week left of school. You're about to go into winter break and you're thinking to yourselves, I want to make something. I want to create something in this time that I have. You're like, I didn't get to do NaNoWriMo, I didn't get to do National Novel Writing Month because of finals and a bunch of other things and family stuffs, but now you have time. How can you keep yourself motivated? How can you learn to find inspiration for yourself? And this is something that I like to refer to as filling the cup. I like to imagine a cup. To be entirely honest, I like to picture like a wine glass. Not because I'm fancy, but because wine glasses are fancy. And I find them aesthetically pleasing. So I imagine a wine glass. And this glass represents my motivation, my inspiration. This ethereal essence that represents how excited I am to create, to go out there, to put my work out there, to tell stories. And the cup represents this essence, this idea. And, sometimes the cup is nearly empty. Sometimes after, family crises or just the general state of our world, of our country, sometimes drains from the cup. Some may argue it spills from the cup. And sometimes we feel very empty. And I like to mentally, and I feel like these mental meditation / self-reflection exercises are very important. You have to be able to look inside of yourself. Not just to be a good writer, but just to be a good person. Be able to look inside of yourself and ask, how inspired am I right now? Closing your eyes, picturing a cup or some sort of container. I've heard of people who like to imagine like a chest full of like coins or something like that. To me, it's always been a cup. I picture a cup, and I search within myself, and I ask, how do I feel right now? How do I feel about creating right now? And sometimes, when I'm feeling really inspired, I can visualize the cup as overflowing. And that's what it is. I'm so excited about creating, about writing, about telling stories, that, it's those days when you wake up before your alarm goes off, where you're so excited to do something. You can't wait. I start work early. I skip on things that generally I would have to, drag my feet through. I get up, make breakfast, clean the house, plan my morning, boom, I'm sitting down, I start writing. Because I can't wait. But what do we do when the cup is empty or nearly empty? What do we do when we feel like the cup has only had a couple droplets in it for the last 6 months, the last 2 years, when it's been forever since the last time we felt like creating? And I think that this here is within itself a misconception. I feel, honestly, the more time that passes, everybody feels differently about this. I think that regaining inspiration, filling the cup, has to come from outside of your medium. Hear me out on this, okay? For me, getting inspired, being inspired to write has to come from outside of writing, has to come from something else while I'm not looking for it, while I'm not expecting it. And those of you who are artists who make visual media can recognize this as the need to research, as the need to not only create art but also study art, to look at the world around you. And this is why I refer to reading books, watching movies, watching shows, playing games as consuming media. Devour it. Take it. It is not wrong. It doesn't make you lazy. It doesn't make you a bad person to step away from the writing, to recharge, to find inspiration in other person's words, in other person's themes, in their aesthetics, in the things they created themselves with their own energy. This is an element that is often lost to writers, is the idea that you are not only inspiring other people with your writing, but you yourself must be inspired by others. It's this cycle of creating amazing stories, being inspired by someone else's stories, and you creating your own. We continue. It's the cycle of life applied to creativity, to inspiration. And I know, you know this. There must have been a time when you walked out of a movie theater thinking to yourself, wow, I want to write a story like that. I want to create something like that. That right there is important. On my mornings when I'm planning my day, I always like to allocate a little bit of time to fill the cup, to experience something, to do something. It doesn't always have to be media. One of the things that really inspires me is going out on walks. Going out on walks and listening to music. It really helps. It gives me a moment to get away from my headspace, to get away from the office, to get away from the house, to go somewhere else, to feel the wind against my face, to smell the scent of rain, feeling the moisture in the air, the chill of winter. Depending on where you are, it may be as sharp as a knife. Walking, thinking, imagining my characters. It's part of the reason why I've been feeling so uninspired recently. It's been raining so hard that I haven't been able to go on a walk. Sometimes all I need is a walk. But that changes though. To some people, that may be spending time with their kids. To some people, it may be another aspect of their life that is often neglected. Because we have to remember that we are living beings that require balance. You can't just be one thing. No matter how much we wish we could be one thing. No matter how much we wish we could wake up every morning, write for 10 hours every single day for 3 months and expect life to still function normally. That's just not how it is. You're a living being. You're an organism. You require rest. But most importantly, creativity is not free. Creativity is not a resource that you have the same amount of every single morning. Some days you are super creative and some days you're not. The ways in which we help ourselves, though, is by being open to motivation, being open to inspiration, being open to experiencing things and finding inspiration through them. And I know it sounds silly to me because you're probably listening to this podcast because it helps you in that way. And I am glad that I can do that for you. But if you look within yourself and you imagine the cup and you see it as still being droplets, it's not a bad idea to see what else is missing in your life. It's also likely you need rest. I'm feeling way better after my wife forced me to take a few days off. I feel better now, though. And I'm arriving now, once I have equalized my needs and I feel now that I'm in balance again. I look at the cup and I wonder, How can I fill it? Every day, and I write this on my bullet journal, fill the cup with purpose. And what I mean by this is not just do something just to do something. I like to pick things, like for instance, if I'm writing a particular mood, a particular style, I experience those kind of things. I watch shows that are like that. I play games that are like that. I read books that are like that. Because I want to fill the cup. Purposefully fill the cup. It's not about killing time. It's about enjoying the time we have. And to seek to find inspiration. Okay? If you're feeling uninspired, and I feel like this is a thing where like people who do visual media super get this, super understand this. You create art, you do research. You look at how other people do things. You look at different visual styles, at different ways of tackling the same craft. And you return to the act of creating. And I know it may seem hard, especially during this month, especially during this time of year. But I want to inspire you to fill the cup with purpose. Not to fill the cup completely, but just enough that you can get back to the writing. Okay? Okay. And now, for the final segment of the show, the prompt. A little segment where I want to inspire you to create or to just think about your stories, to imagine them, and to ask to yourself, what would I do if I were writing this story? How would I tackle it? How would I twist it? How would I make this fun? How would I make this mine? Unquestionably mine. That is your task. If this inspires you to create, please do so. If it fills the cup, write. Take advantage of it. Do not let it go. Just stop the podcast if you have to and get writing. And if you like what you make, let me know. I might want to read it. But without any further ado, let us begin. The title of today's prompt is A Spectator. Today, we'll be going into unfamiliar realms. We'll be doing something strange, though it will feature your characters, your people, your places, your story. I want you to take a critical moment of your story. I want you to take a moment in the story that is very important. It may be full of emotion. It may be full of silence. It may be sad or happy. It may be a character's victory or their final defeat. Take this moment in the story, a critical moment, and I want you to see it through the eyes of an spectator. The eyes of someone in the background. Someone who has never had a chance to speak until now. Someone who may even be nameless. A face in the crowd. A peasant, a commoner, a soldier. A passersby. A stranger. A child. Someone out there witnessing this moment from another point of view. The defeat of the old god from the point of view of one of the remaining foot soldiers. The end of the world, as seen from the eyes of a child looking around the shattered city they once called their home. The royal wedding that no one thought would actually come through. The unity of two completely different kingdoms, seen from the point of view of one of the guests. A baron, a noble, or merely one of the servants in the background. What did the events that led to this moment mean to them? What were they like? What is it like to be the foot soldier who survived war after war against the old god's army? The demons and phantoms and monsters. Friends gone forever. And yet, this foot soldier was no hero. They are there in the background, looking at the real heroes. The wielders of magical swords and amazing sorceries. The greater-than-life heroes. What is it like to look at them? What is it like to stand beside them? What feelings are spurred inside of this child as they look around the ruins, as they recognize the shapes of bodies beneath the debris, and as they look up at the sky, they see two figures fighting against one another with no care for what happens to the lowly world below. What is it like to be a member of that wedding? To look at the unity of two kingdoms and to feel for the first time in forever that peace may just happen? What is it like to be in the background of a story? What is it like to witness the events from another point of view? It is easy to lose oneself in a revenge plot, in righting the wrongs of the universe, in sealing away the evils that escaped from places unknown. It's easy to get lost in the minutiae of being a hero, in the moment of being greater than life. But what of those people in the background? What about that soldier? They are not faceless. They have a name and a family. They are someone, and they survived. Their friends died too. And though they may not wield magic swords and amazing sorceries, they survived there. They stand there amidst a handful of other soldiers in the presence of heroes. What is it like to be in the background of a photo, of a moment that changes history? What is it like to be here? Not standing beside the throne, not to have a crown laid upon one's brow, but to see it from afar. To witness the coronation from the rooftops. To hear the world falling apart as you speed down the freeway. To be plotting your revenge as you blend into the crowd of that wedding. What is it like? What is it like to be a background character in someone else's story? And when will this nobody get to be a someone? And so, hello there. Welcome back to episode 24 of Omakase, my writing advice and inspiration podcast. I hope that you had fun. I hope that, if anything, I showed you another point of view, or that I was good company during your break at work, during that long drive, during the moments of peace in which you seek to fill the cup. before I leave, I just want to remind you that I am taking questions for a year-end writing advice answer-a-thon. I'm going to be answering every single question I get in the order I get them, so first come, first answered. And I am also doing an AMA, and Ask Me Anything of personal questions, just a nice, fun conversation to have at the end of the year. You can send me questions for both of those. The email is omakasepodcast@gmail.com. It's also in the description of the podcast. Once again, I want to thank you for watching. I'm gonna step off to the end of the video club. You don't have to tag along if you don't want to. I'm gonna be giving shoutouts to every single one of my patrons and also to everyone who treated me to a cup of coffee over at coffee.com/mkaren. It's the end of the video club where we stay until the end of the video, though you don't have to. The seriousness ends here, and the silly shenanigans start now. Alright. Okay, real talk. I was kind of lost there in the whole inspirational mode. You know, I was like inspirational mode max, talking about, you know, stories and, you know, talking about the prompt, you know, a spectator. You know, what is it like to be, you know, a real person, not a background character, because like the idea of faceless soldiers is just so dumb to me. Like I can't stand the idea of faceless soldiers, because that person is a person. And, you know, they have their own story, and they've survived this far, you know. Who's to say that their story isn't worth telling as well? But when I was finishing that prompt, you know, and I was like, when will a nobody become a somebody? And I said that, and I'm like, that sounds cool. And then I realized someone in the background is going to be like, nice Kingdom Hearts reference, Max. And I'm like, if there is something, please get out of here with your Kingdom Hearts jokes. I didn't mean that. I've actually never played a Kingdom Hearts joke. I've never been to Uva Java. I've never played a Kingdom Hearts game. I played a bunch of one, but I never finished it. Doesn't that count as playing a game? No, it doesn't. If I just picked it up, I tried it, and then I thought the gummy ship was the best part of the game, that's not playing the game. I just know that nobodies and somebodies are part of the plot in Kingdom Hearts. Whatever, it's fine. Those words don't belong to Kingdom Hearts. They belong to me. Alright, what a way to start the end of the video club. Hi. Let's just get the shoutouts out of the way and call it a day. I gotta get out of here. This video's gotta get edited. I gotta go take care of my cat and my 2 other great children. I want to give a big shout out to every single person pledging $1 and up on patreon.com/mkaren, starting with A. Howard, Atalek, Alistair Baywood, Elisa Dudley, Amanda Stevens, Amelia, Amy Palmer, Angela, and the other Angela, Aniexo Hoshi, Biting the Sun, Blarg, Brenda, C.E. Richards, Caitlin, and the other Caitlin, Kathy Lindsay, Lishadra, Christiane, Christine Dennis, Kristen Lofton, Clem Pastor, Dwayne Jackson, Eleanor, Erasos, Joffrey Raby, Gilbert Goodrow. Oh no, I'm doing my choose your character voice. Hero Song, Irina Phoenix, Janusz Hibatsky, Jaytana Kirkwood. I like Jaytana's name. That's a good name. Jeffrey. That's not to say everybody else doesn't have good names, but it's a treat to say Jaytana Kirkwood. That's a good. That's. I don't know if you hate that. I don't know if you hate your name. It's likely maybe you don't like your name. I think it's cool though. Jeffrey James Williams. Good old JJW. Oh yeah, new Patreon. I have no idea how to pronounce your name. I want to give a big shout out to. Oh no, this is not gonna work. This is not gonna work. Okay, you know what? Hi there. Don't mind me just alt-tabbing to look up how your name is pronounced. How do you pronounce this Polish name? Is it Polish? Okay, apparently it is Polish. Okay, so how do you pronounce this name? Suwiki! I want to give a shout out to new patron, Jay Suwiki. Nailed it. Nailed it. Juan Nunes. K.M. Anderson. Kameshwar Rao Shaluri. Kaylee. Kiel. Kit Lee. Lacey. Lier Killo. M.T. Locatelli. Mark Maruska. Mary Foster Smith. Nicola. Nicole Grissom. Nicolay. I'm actually feeling... I totally cut off Nicolay. I feel... Sawiki. Wait, is there another pronunciation? Okay. The other pronunciation... Oh no. There's two pronunciations and they're both thumbed down. Sawiki. Seawiki? Sawiki. There's no justice in this world. You know what, Jay Sawiki? Just yell at me. Just be all like, Max, you didn't nail it. And you know what? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. I took the shot. It might have missed, but you know what? I took the shot, and that's what matters. But yeah. Hey, Jay Sawiki, tell me if I nailed your name, or if I failed you. It's likely I did. Nicolay! Noam Sahar! Novels and Tomes! Pablo. Pat Eichson. Polly Craftwell. Raquel Fernandez. Rhiannon August. Roa. Shimmer Tales. Sky D. White. Somius. Sylvia Leitilla. Synexia. And... Wendy. Christopher. Of course, we're not over yet. It's not over yet. I want to give a shout out. Someone treated me to a cup of coffee. And that person is Quasar. Quasar, thank you for treating me to a cup of coffee. You didn't have a caption, but you know what? Your name's cool, and I like your icon as well. Thank you. Thank you for the cup of coffee. You're all so sweet. You're all so sweet. All of you. Especially those of you listening as well. I actually, you know what? I'll do it now. This is the worst time to be doing this. I want to give a shout out to... I think I've gotten 4 reviews, but only 3 are showing up. Minerva the Grey left me a review on the podcast on iTunes a little while ago. Thank you for that. CC Chana? Or what if it's like CC Kana? Well, CC Chana also left a nice review, as did good old friend of the channel, Charlie Arlette, at Charlie Arlette on Twitter. Thank you all for the reviews. 5-star reviews mean a lot for podcasts and just ratings. So if you really enjoy the podcast, consider leaving a rating, a rating and a review. Even if it's just a couple of sentences, it actually means a lot. But yeah, man, the podcast has been going for 29 episodes. It's not exactly the same number of weeks because I have extra episodes to go up every month, but 29 episodes of the podcast. That's crazy. It's been half a year. And you know what? I just I missed I didn't do thankfulness on the podcast, on last week's podcast. So I want to say I'm thankful for all of you. You're all lovely people. Thank you for supporting me on what I do, and I hope that I can continue on inspiring you and making dumb jokes in the end screen. Thank you for tagging along. You go out there. You keep being you. Keep doing what you do. And keep telling stories.